Hello students. So today we will start our second unit, which is magnetism. And to start this unit, again we need to understand some basic terminology which we are going to use in this unit. Okay, so we'll start first term which we use a lot in this unit, which is magnetic induction or magnetic flux density, or this is also known as magnetic field intensity. Okay, and it is represented by capital B and arrow over this. Okay, so it is similar to electric field intensity, which is given by electric field vector E. Okay, so the magnetic field intensity or the magnetic induction is represented by the letter capital B and arrow over it. Okay, because it is an vector quantity. Okay, and it is defined as, the magnetic induction is defined as, it is defined at a point, and it is defined as the number of magnetic field lines passing through a unit area when the area is held perpendicular to the field lines at that point. Okay, if we had any area perpendicular to the magnetic field lines, okay, like this, suppose we have this area, and this is held perpendicular to the magnetic field lines which are crossing this area, then number of the field lines crossing this unit area, okay, those that thing will give us the magnetic induction or magnetic field intensity at that particular point. Okay, so next term is magnetic flux. Okay, so you might aware of the term electric flux, okay, which is represented by phi E. Magnetic flux will be represented by term phi B. Okay, and it is defined as, but the magnetic flux for a surface is defined as the total number of magnetic field lines passing through the given surface when the magnetic field intensity. Magnetic flux is what? Magnetic flux is defined for a surface, and it is defined as the total number of magnetic field lines passing through the given surface. Okay, and suppose now we have a magnetic field intensity or magnetic induction which varies from place to place on a surface. Okay, and also the surface is not perpendicular to the field lines. Okay, in that case, how to calculate that flux? Okay, so the flux of, in this case, can be calculated like this. Suppose we have considered an infinitely small elemental area ds. Okay, suppose we have considered this whole surface, and out of this whole surface we have considered this small surface area ds. Okay, whose normal lie in this direction, okay, n cap. Okay, and the magnetic field lines crossing through this surface is like this. Okay, it means they are not perpendicular to the area normal. Okay, so in this case, the number of field lines crossing through this small area ds will be this thing, that will be d phi will be b dot ds. Okay, which will become bds cos of theta. This is the number of field lines crossing through this small elemental area ds. Now we want to calculate the total number of magnetic field lines crossing through this whole surface s. Okay, crossing through the whole surface s, that will be integral of this thing, phi b will be integral of b ds cos theta. And suppose we have considered the magnetic field lines which are crossing this area is uniform. Okay, uniform means b is constant throughout this surface. In that case, b is constant, which can be taken outside the integral. Okay, and theta will also be constant because for the given surface there has to be only one normal. Okay, so normal is fixed in a fixed direction and b is in a particular direction, so that means theta is fixed. Okay, so b cos theta can be taken outside, and then we are left with integral of ds over the surface s. Okay, and now consider this is the total area of this surface s. Okay, and say it is a. Okay, total surface area is a, so in that case this phi b will become this ba cos of theta. Okay, phi b will become ba cos theta. And now if we consider the given area is held normal to the magnetic field b. Okay, so in that case what will happen? B is uniform, that we have already considered. Okay, and now we are considering the area is held normal to the surface. So in that case theta will also become 0. Okay, and theta 0, then cos theta is 1, so this will become phi b. Phi b will become b into a. So the total magnetic flux through this area will be equals to magnetic induction or magnetic field intensity into area. Okay, so this is how we define the magnetic flux. Okay, now the SI unit of this magnetic flux density is Weber per meter square. Okay, which is written as Wb by meter square, or it is also can be written in this form. This will be Newton per ampere meter. Okay, or in short Newton per ampere meter. This Weber per meter square is also called Tesla. Okay, in the name of the scientist who contributed towards this magnetism. Okay, so the SI unit of magnetic flux is Weber. Okay, above we have discussed the SI unit of magnetic flux density, which is Weber per meter square, and the SI unit of magnetic flux is Weber, Wb. Okay, now we'll discuss the CGS unit of magnetic flux. It is Maxwell. Okay, and the magnetic flux density is expressed in Maxwell per centimeter square. Okay, the unit of all these both the quantities, magnetic flux density and the magnetic flux, it is given in the name of scientists who worked on magnetism. Okay, Maxwell, you know, is a famous scientist, and same is for Tesla. Okay, the relation between okay, the 1 Weber per meter square is also known as Tesla, which we have already discussed here. Okay, in a similar fashion, 1 Maxwell per centimeter square is equal to 1 Gauss. Okay, that is 1 Gauss, and 1 Weber per meter square is 1 Tesla. And there is a relation between Weber and Maxwell. 1 Weber, which is the SI unit of magnetic flux, is equal to 10 raised to power 8 times Maxwell. Okay, now we convert this. 1 Weber is 10 raised to power 8 Maxwell. Okay, this we have written, and 1 meter square will be 10 raised to power 4 centimeter square. So this will get cancelled out. Okay, 10 raised to power 4 will get cancel out with 10 raised to power 8, and we left with 10 raised to power 4 Maxwell per centimeter square. That means 1 Tesla will be equal to 10 raised to power 4 Maxwell per centimeter square, and 1 Maxwell per centimeter square is equal to 1 Gauss. So this is the relation between 1 Tesla and Gauss. Okay, Tesla is the SI unit of, you can say, the SI unit of magnetic flux. Okay, and magnetic flux density, and Gauss is the SI unit. Okay, so this is an important relation between the units of magnetic flux and magnetic flux density. Okay, next we will discuss about the solenoidal nature of vector field of induction, or solenoidal nature of magnetic field induction. Okay, the nature of this magnetic field vector B is altogether different from that of the electric field vector E. Okay, in case of electric field vector, we know the electric field lines of force are always originated from a point. Okay, like this, if we talk about a positive charge, okay, so these lines will start from this charge and they will go like this. Okay, radially outward. Okay, they start from a charge and also terminate at some other point. Like if we have a negative charge, then like this, the field lines are coming and they are terminating on this surface. Okay, and so if we have a dipole, okay, one positive charge and negative charge, then field lines are like this. They are originated from positive charge and terminated at negative charge. Okay, this is how we represent the electric field lines for a positive and negative charge. Okay, but and also due to this nature of electric field lines, we can always attach a scalar quantity with this electric field vector E, okay, such that which we can represent it by the electric field vector represented in terms of a scalar quantity potential. This V is the potential, so the gradient of a potential is nothing but the electric field. Okay, so this is how we can represent the electric field vector. But the uh, behavior of magnetic field vector B is completely different than that of this electric field vector E. Okay, so in case of magnetic field vector, there is no point of origin and no point of termination of magnetic field of lines. Okay, this magnetic field of lines always form the closed path. Okay, if you remember, if we discuss the magnetic field lines due to a charge carrying conductor, okay, that will goes this way. They form closed loops like this. Okay, magnetic field lines forms the closed loop. So for this closed loop, we cannot say what is the origin point and what is the termination point. These field lines always form the closed path or closed curve. Okay, so for this vector field, there is no starting or terminating point, and this nature, okay, for any vector where we cannot define its starting and terminating point, they are known as solenoidal nature or source free field. Okay, the field which can be represented in this way, they are known as solenoidal or source free field. Okay, so as the magnetic lines of force are source free and they do not have any starting or ending point, therefore the total magnetic flux crossing any closed surface must vanish. Okay, if we take any area and we want to calculate the total magnetic flux crossing this area, then total number of field lines which are entering and total number of field lines which are going out, they will be same. Okay, so the total magnetic flux crossing any closed surface must be zero. Okay, so this property of magnetic field can be expressed as like this. Okay, it can be expressed like this, which is B dot ds, that is the surface integral of magnetic field vector B. Okay, which can be written as B dot ds vector will be written as n cap ds. It will be 0. Okay, because of the solenoidal nature. Okay, and the importance of this this relation lies in the fact that monopoles do not exist in magnetism. Okay, or the poles are always exist in pair. In case of electrostatic, we know the charges, the mono charges, means positive charges can exist independently and negative charge can exist independently. But in magnetism, that we will discuss in our further classes, that no monopoles means no north pole alone or no south pole alone can be we can have. Okay, we can always have a combination of both. Okay, north and south pole. Okay, monopole cannot exist. This north and south pole always exist in pair. Okay, independently north pole and south pole do not exist, and this is the importance of this equation. Okay, thank you.